Hey May, thanks for coming to YouTube and for watching this presentation with me, Mr. Edwards. As you'll remember, before Easter, I explained to you that your class would be lucky enough to help me with a research project that I'm undertaking with university. Before Easter, we completed a short quiz in class to find out if you had any knowledge about the disaster in Aberfan in 1966. Today, you're going to help me with the second part of the research, which is simply to watch this video. This will hopefully help you understand what happened on the day of the Aberfan disaster. Now, as you watch the video, I want you to write down one question that you would like to discuss in class about the disaster based on what you see in the video. Our next class is going to be on Wednesday, the 3rd of May. And on this day, when you come to class, you're going to complete an investigation into why the disaster happened. And the idea is that by watching this video at home, you'll be able to come to class equipped with knowledge about the disaster. Therefore, we'll be able to spend more time in class actively learning. We'll be able to investigate and practice skills that we otherwise wouldn't have as much time for. On Wednesday, the 3rd of May, the Nossi verse that you're going to be working towards, which you can see on the screen, is to investigate why the Aberfan disaster happened. So, first of all, what was the Aberfan disaster? The disaster is remembered as one of the saddest days in Welsh and British history. In the 1950s and 1960s, the coal mine in Aberfan had been dumping coal waste on a pile which was balanced on a mountain above the village in Aberfan. Now, this might seem like the craziest thing to do in the world, but this practice of dumping the coal waste onto a huge pile was quite common in Wales and indeed in northern England at the time. However, on October the 21st in 1966, the coal pile above Aberfan slipped. It slipped and it crashed into the village below. It destroyed all in its path. And on this really tragic day, 144 people lost their lives, and among the dead were 116 primary school children, and their lives were cut short in such an awful way. So let's have a look at what happened on the morning of the disaster. At 7:30 a.m. on a foggy South Wales morning, the mine workers arrived at the coal pile, but what they saw shocked them greatly. The coal tip had moved overnight and it had sunk about 20 feet. This really worried the mine workers. The mine workers were worried that if the coal pile moved any more, it could potentially break apart and then fall on the village below. At 9 a.m., the school bell at Pantglas Primary School rang. 240 children and their teachers entered the building. The children were excited because the 21st of October happened to be the final day of term. The October half term was due to start at 12 p.m. on that same day. At 9:15, as the miners had feared, the tip slipped. It came crashing down the mountain at tremendous speed, and with devastating force, the tip hit the village. At 9:50, the first emergency services arrived on the scene. One firefighter described the scene as utter pandemonium. He was so shocked at all of the panic that he's seen throughout the village. By midday, the last survivor, Jeff Edwards, is pulled from the school. Edwards had been crushed by coal for more than 2 hours, and for those 2 hours, the head of a dead girl was pressed against him. So he'd been there for 2 hours with a dead body pressed against him. Imagine how much that must have affected his life. As news of the disaster spread, Miners and residents of the neighbouring villages in South Wales rushed to Aberfan to help. Now, the afternoon, by 4 p.m., the rescue effort was continuing. However, the reality of the situation had begun to sink in, and people had begun to lose hope of finding more survivors. Because of the sheer number of dead in the village, a temporary mortuary had been set up to store the dead bodies. The families of those with missing children or missing loved ones, such as teachers, were to go to the mortuary to identify their loved ones. Now that's for the next class. So 8 that's everything for today. And thanks a lot for watching the video. And I hope that it's been helpful and that you'll be able to come to class on Wednesday next week, Wednesday the 3rd of May, prepared to investigate why the disaster happened. And remember, I want you to write down one question that you have about what you've seen in the video, in the presentation. Bring it to class, and then at the start of the lesson, as the starter, we're going to discuss some of those questions that you have. Thanks again, guys, and see you in class.